Now back to Marquee Media Studio and the HaneyBiz Project with your host, Mark Haney.
All right. Welcome back to the HaneyBiz Project, brought to you courtesy of Comstocks Magazine and California Backyard. I am today joined by the biology pioneer, Pam Marrone, the founder and CEO of Marrone Bioinnovations. How you doing, Pam?
Doing great. Glad to be here.
All right. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to sharing your story because it's very uncommon. If you don't mind, Pam, let us know who you are and give us your your entrepreneurial journey. How did it start? Where are you today?
Oh, it started when I was 7 years old.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, I was a weird little girl. I wanted to be an entomologist, which is a person who studies bugs. I grew up on a beautiful 40 acres in southern Connecticut, and I watched the gypsy moth caterpillars eat the forest, and my father wanted to save a prized dogwood right outside the kitchen window, so he went to the store and he bought a toxic chemical, and he sprayed it to kill the caterpillars. Yeah, but he also killed the lady beetles, the lacewings, the honeybees, and my mother freaked out and told him that he would never use a chemical again, so he trotted back to the store and he found the first ever biological product for controlling caterpillars. Still on the market today. It's a bacteria, which is a microorganism that gives the bug stomach aches. And I said, Dad, so how'd it go? And he goes, well, makes your mother happy. It's good for the environment, but I don't know if it works. And that is the story of my career.
Well, I didn't even know, I was thinking about being an entomologist too, but I didn't even know what it was till today. So, but I like science. I always liked the bugs as a little kid. So you started at 7, and your imagination took you to where? Where are you today?
So I decided I was going to pursue a career in looking for ways to control pests without the use of toxic chemicals. So I pursued that my entire life, went to school as an entomology major at Cornell University, PhD as an entomology major at North Carolina State University, then started my career at Monsanto Company, of all places. But they actually hired me to start up a new unit looking for new ways to control pests. And I did that for 7 years, and then I was recruited to Davis, California by a Danish company, which I didn't even know, and I couldn't even pronounce the name, Novo Nordisk, but it is the biggest insulin provider. And they wanted me to set up a company in Davis, California to look for new ways to control pests. And we called that Entotech, so that was my first startup. And then that was sold after 5 years to our largest competitor when they had some issues in their core businesses. And I started up AgroQuest. AgroQuest was a venture capital-backed company. I raised $60 million, almost got it public. But unfortunately, I filed for the offering right before 9/11 and couldn't get the offering done. I was flying to the World Trade Center, and our lawyers for the deal were in the South Tower. They all did get out. I was flying September 12th. That never happened. And so the company was then... an investor did a kind of a hostile cram down, they call it, which wiped out my founder's stock. The company was sold a few years later to Bayer Crop Science for almost $500 million, and I didn't get anything from that sale. So that's a really tough lesson. But I said, hey, I'm a resilient entrepreneur. I'm going to start up again. And I started this company in 2006 and took it public in 2013. We've had our challenges, but we're doing really well and we are changing the world. Developing products that are safer and effective, can control pests, and what I would say is we're just like pharmaceutical companies that have gone to the rainforest hunting for new drugs, and penicillin comes from a mold, and your antibiotics come from microbes, and aspirin originally came from willow bark. We do the same thing, and we do go hunting in the rainforest, but many other places like a rice field in Northern California, and we look for those bacteria and plants that we can then turn into products to control pests.
Okay, so who is your customer, and what does this product actually look like?
So our customer is the farmer. Okay. And we sell through distributors who then sell to the farmer, and we spray it on a crop. So what it actually looks like, we try to make a product, and it's a natural product, so it could be an extract of a plant, or it could be a bacteria, a living thing. But we try to make it so it's no different from a chemical pesticide, so it goes in a jug or a bag, and the farmer sprays it out in his spray rig, a tractor, tractor sprayer, just like he would a chemical. So we're trying to make it so he doesn't have to change what he does. Sprays it out on the crop, and it increases the yields and quality of the crop while controlling the pests, and very biodegradable and doesn't harm anything.
Well, let's talk about taking companies public. You know finance, you know this world. For a lot of us, that's not something we really contemplate. We're just trying to put some food on the table, but you have this knowledge about how to take a company public. Why don't you break that down for us to educate us entrepreneurs?
It's actually a very rigorous process. So in order to go public in 2013, we started the process in 2011, and we had to map out all the milestones and steps along the way of how you're going to get there. And the investment bankers will tell you, well, you need this and that, and you have this milestone you have to meet. So we won't take you public until you do, 1, 2, 3. So we ticked off those milestones. And then, the Jobs Act was passed. And that is a law that made it easier for small companies to go public because you can file with the SEC for your offering confidentially.
Okay.
And so you can file, and then the SEC will give all this feedback about your offering while you're still, still private, and then, you can get your act together behind the scenes. Before it was, you'd have to do it publicly. So, and then you can do pre-market. You can do a road show with investors before you actually have to do the real thing. So it's a practice session. That made it really good. So we did in 2012, we did that practice session and got feedback from the investors about what they'd like to see. And we, adapted and then did the real offering in August of 2013.
Well, I've heard from a number of people that there's a huge cost in going public with Sarbanes-Oxley and the other, regulatory requirements that unless you're a certain size company, it doesn't make sense to go public.
That's probably true. Looking back on it, I don't know if I would do it again because we've had some big challenges with being a public company, and it is very expensive. It's several $1 million to comply. And even though you're small, you still have to follow all those rules.
Right.
And your financials have to be perfect, which means you have to spend a lot of money on accountants and you have to spend a lot of money on lawyers. There's all kinds of laws. Sometimes you feel like you're going to straitjacket what you say. Is regulation, fair disclosure. You have, if you say something, material, something important about the company, you have to tell everybody. You can't tell one person that. Otherwise, you could actually end up in jail.
So you've got a lot more concern and care. But so there's a lot of reasons why not. What are the benefits of going public versus just raising venture capital?
Yeah, one of the reasons why we actually decided to go public was because it is easier to raise money.
Okay.
Actually, you can do an overnight offering, literally. I mean, you can do a roadshow, and a few days later, you can close on $10 million. So that's a lot easier than private. Number two, we're the first company of our type. We call them ourselves ag biologicals or biopesticide company. We're the first one on the public markets. So we've created a new category. That attention and that has really had other entrepreneurs want to do the same thing and see they can do it and also go public. So we were the first of a trend. And also we have a lot of more partners and other. It was a lot of benefits. There's been a lot of downsides and a lot of benefits. It's not the glorious. A lot of entrepreneurs think it's the dream, the capstone of their career to go public. I would say no.
It was our dream back in my video store days. We took a bank public actually back in the day, and I've been around it a few times, and it's been extremely lucrative. But I've also heard the pitfalls. So, what's the biggest pitfall that you've read? The biggest challenge? Maybe it's because you're public. Maybe it's just because the operations of the business. What's been the biggest challenge over this last several years?
Well, we had an employee who did some bad things, and he was actually arrested and charged with fraud in 2016.
Wow.
And that cost us $17 million and really hobbled the company because it opened up a big SEC investigation and restatement of our financials, and that's a very bad thing. And so
that hurt the stock price, I have to assume.
Yeah, the stock price tanked. And
did you have to go out for more money?
Oh yeah, but the problem is because of Dodd-Frank law, you can only raise 1/3 of your public float, and when your stock price is low, that means you can raise less money. So then there's all these trolls around and all these predator funds.
Yeah, people are like, "Can we pick them up at the bottom?" Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So,
wow.
but we got through it. We downsized the company by almost 50%, and we got through it because we had a hardy group of survivor employees who chose to stay with us. We redid our vision and mission statement, and we said, we're going to make it through these challenges. We're going to be better than ever, and we are better than ever now, and we're doing really well since that time.
Well, we heard that you recently got included in the Russell 2000. What kind of difference did that make?
A lot of shares traded, so
Yeah.
that gives us a lot more float. So what happens is when you're a small company, if you don't have enough public float, you're subject to a lot of short sellers and stock manipulation. So it's good to have more float of your stock, and
Describe what's float.
Float, it would be basically the number of shares that are out there trading.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So if you have too little float, then you get these people coming in, and these small stocks are so volatile. They can go up and down, and they're very subject to manipulation. So it's better to have more float out there.
Okay, so you battled, you persevered, but you have, you're more than just the leader of this bioscience company, right? You are a woman in a man's world, and you were telling me earlier, your husband's actually a man in a woman's world. Talk to us about how that works.
Well, I think opposites attract. I met my husband when I was 17 at Cornell, and we got married the week before graduation, and we celebrated our 40th wedding anniversary in May of this year.
Congrats.
And the nice thing about being married to a social worker is he could move around for me, so he followed me everywhere I went because a male social worker in a female field, he was instantly hired anywhere because he became very good at counseling children and especially young boys. So.
Well, we only have a minute left. Words of advice to a woman who's thinking, hey, I'm going to go for it. Pam Marrone has done this. I can do this too. Any advice as somebody who's super ambitious out there listening?
Well, it used to be that you had to go spend a lot of years in business before you started a company. But what I'm seeing right now, because of the amount of investment going into agriculture and ag tech, you can, if you're female, you can just do it. Yeah. And even if you're just right out of graduate school or school, there's so many problems to solve. We are going from 8 billion, we're going from 6 billion people to 10 billion people by 2050. And we have to do it more sustainably in how we grow our food. So there's many, many problems for entrepreneurs to solve in food production.
So many problems to solve. Get out there and just do it. Coming up after the break, by the way, I want to thank you, Pam, for coming on. Coming up after the break, we will meet a man finding tomorrow's medicine today. Sunil Wadhwa, the founder and CEO of MedX Prime. Join the revolution at HaneyBiz.com, courtesy of Audi Rockland and DCA Capital. This is the HaneyBiz Project.